great history. So I went into education here in New Hampshire. Spent the last 40 years or so, even before being at UNH, as a VISTA volunteer, director of Head Start programs, working in higher ed, and now New Hampshire Listens. And I guess I've been in education because I do see that our public schools and our public higher education institutions can either be vehicles for realizing that democratic dream or be complicit in the structural racism that maintains the gap of achievement and opportunity between people who consider themselves white and our black and brown brothers and sisters. So education, for me, is the crucible where there's opportunity and possibility for helping young people be witnesses and be activists to fight the system that's we, people like me, us in this room, have created over generations, or we can be complicit in that process. And I guess that's the question I leave myself with.
I got lucky. I don't think I knew why I was getting to this. I graduated from college and went down to Mississippi for what was going to be just a quick trip to see what was going on. And I can't say it's a real conscious, deep intent. And I was just swept away. First time I went to jail was down there in Oxford, and then in Holly Springs, and then Jackson. First times I got beaten was down there. And the experience of going out and talking to people about it's still there. You know, talking to people about coming to vote. And who the hell was I? A little picture of a Jewish guy in Mississippi telling people out there for a few weeks, and I'm telling them, put your life on the line and come out and do this? Oh, anyway. And 50 years later, I still got friends down there. And I've had lots of luck. I got to meet Medgar Evers briefly before he died. I mean, I didn't meet him, just shook a hand. And I got to meet Dr. King down there. And these extraordinary things, and even now, the things that I do, I feel much like again quoting the speaker, that life is a journey and you don't know when you start off where you're going, and I still feel much of this is my emotion of taking me places before I think about why I'm there, which could also lead me to do some horrible things. I realize to say that he's taking me in the right way on these things.
Thank you. First, giving honor to God and thanking everybody for being in the room, particularly the elders and the youngest people in the room. My name is Brenda Ladd. I find myself being here in New Hampshire because I have the pleasure and honor to be married to Willie Black. But before I was married to Willie Black,
you were in kindergarten.
I actually met Willie Black because I was a part of a high school organization called the Black Student Union, and I was selling tickets, Michelle, and he bought me. But I was selling tickets, and I have been doing this work in doing racism because it's the right thing to do. And I'm all for working on eliminating the lies, starting with there's no such thing as white people. There's no such thing as black people. There's just pretty much people. And so I think those words are used to separate us. And then even though we do have individual talents and efforts, it's the institutional structures that separate us and keep us separate.
Great, thank you. Dan, we're going to go back the other way for this next question. So, right after the movie, I asked you to think of one word that comes to mind after you've seen the movie and to share with the person next to you why that one word came to mind and what that meant. So now I'm going to ask the panelists, what one word came to your mind after watching the movie, and why? And when the panelist gives the one word, I'd love you, if you came up with the same word, raise your hand. So we'll get a little audience participation going here.
That's actually pretty good. The first word I came up with, but I really struggled with it, but it was the first word, and it was hopeful. And I'm hopeful. Hey, I like that.
Anybody?
So it was hopeful.
Two?
Word I came up with was how. How in the hell did we get here? And how in the hell did we change this faster? How in the hell did we get here? And how in the world do we change this faster? How?
Anybody come up with how? No? Okay. Next, Bruce?
So I'm a child of the 60s. I broke the rules and came up with 2 words. I was struck by the reference to emotional poverty. It really seems to me that we put an awful lot of energy into denying the realities that we just saw in order to lead our lives, in order to go about our lives. We, again, I think, referencing people who consider themselves white. The lack of empathy, the lack of willingness to really see the harm that's been done as a way of protecting ourselves emotionally, I think is a big part of the problem.
Go ahead. Eddie? Did anybody have emotional poverty or something like that? You're not all professors, so I wouldn't imagine that phrase, but a couple of people? Excellent. Thanks. Eddie?
Truth. When I watched this, I think there's a truth that needs to be talked about, needs to be told, and we have to be very honest about it.
Great. A couple of people came up with truth. Excellent.
What did they come up with?
Right, yes.
Yeah, so just a few people shout out what you came up with. History.
Yeah.
Grateful. Brave.
Show it at church.
Show it at church. Yes. All right. Well, great. We can actually get that to happen if you really like. Come see us afterwards and we can make that happen. Hope. So we had a couple of hopes. Powerful. Would you mind saying a bit more about what you mean by powerful?
Oh dear, I changed my word. Just, I lived through most of the scenes I saw. I've been around long enough that I lived through most of the things that were in the movie, the events plus the media. And these days, I think I'm becoming more a cynic when I look around. But just his words, I don't know, it's just so powerful if you're open to listen.
Thank you. So, powerful, that's an interesting word, and you talked a bit about the people that kind of reflect that power in the movie. And so my next question is somewhat along those lines. It's been said that, and the movie reflected this a little bit, Martin Luther King and Malcolm X started off as polar opposites, right? But they were driven closer together such that by the time each died, their positions had become virtually the same. Remember that phrase? So I wonder if the panelists, if someone on the panel might unpack that a little bit. I think that's an interesting observation.
Go on, Brandon.
Is it true?
Well, let's hear what some of the panelists think about that.
Okay, I'll take a
Take
crack at it.
Take a crack at it.
I think as you are doing activist work, and if you're involved in any kind of movement building or changing or working towards a good, that you eventually evolve. And I think that's what they ended up doing and how they ended up getting to being very similar in their views about the same problem. And my hope is that we can do the same.
So I wonder if we can tease that out a little bit more, you know? The difference, I think, at least my observation, is that Martin was the advocate for nonviolence.
Uh-huh.
And Malcolm was the one who said, you heard it, whatever it takes.
Uh-huh.
So,
Which could have been nonviolent.
which could have been nonviolent.
Okay.
Yeah. So the statement, the thought that they merged, they came to the same kind of thinking toward the end. Do you think that was that they came to the same thinking about violence? Or what did they come to the same way of thinking about?
I think by any means necessary.
By any means necessary?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Any other thoughts from your panelists?
I was always puzzled as how Dr. King managed to maintain his faith. As he saw what was happening and how he got treated, and especially when he came north and he marched in Cairo and outside of Chicago and he saw the greetings. I don't know where he came from to believe that kind of faith.
He came from the Black Church of the South. That's where he came from.
But excuse me, wasn't there even war and fighting in church? I mean, so fighting is,
She wants you to unpack that, Jim.
yeah, I mean, fighting and war sometimes is part of moving forward for some people in the way that they think. So it's a strategy, right?
Right,
Okay.
right. Bruce, did you want to say
Yeah,
something?
actually, building on that notion of a strategy, I was reading a piece this last summer that distinguished between Gandhi's commitments to pacifism and Dr. King's commitment to nonviolence. And it helped me understand that Dr. King's position was really a strategic position about a movement. That for him, nonviolence was going to be more effective than violence. It was a pragmatic decision. Now, certainly Dr. King was grounded in a deep, deep moral commitment and faith. But in the end, when it came time to leading a movement, he understood that in order to really make progress, it would have to be a nonviolent, including nonviolence in the wake of, in the face of the kind of brutalism that we saw directed at blacks during voting registration movements in Selma, in the South, as well as in South Boston, in the North and other places. Gandhi's commitment was a more pure kind of moral stance and religious Hindu stance around pacifism. And I think it's useful to think about that, because if we need to do what works, and the violent responses to the violence committed against young black men in this country by some police departments, in that context is understandable. It's a strategy to try to get some police departments to stop committing violence against young black men.
Could I?
Brenda,
Yeah.
has another
So-
thought there.
There's non-violence, but then there's violence being perpetrated on people in order for you to talk about the non-violence. So in the movie Selma, I'm just talking about the movie now, where the scene where the actor
Here's
says,
the mic.
oh, I'm sorry. In the scene where the actor says, we want to get the kind of policeman who is going to provoke violence. I think that's kind of what he said. So the violence was used, even though King may have been nonviolent, he was doing things that forced people who were violent to be violent in order to demonstrate how some people could be. So violence was still used, even though King's philosophy may have been nonviolent. You know, it's a kind of deep.
That's why I asked it.
It also assumes then that ultimately, in some way, the benign majority of people are going to be moved by being offended, and that it will get to them. They won't react the other way, but they'll come. It will touch something deep inside all of us, and that's a pretty extraordinary basis on which to run your life, to be willing to take the violence and the hurt and beating and the imprisonment and all those things on the hope that it will move people.
So we got a couple of comments and thoughts from the audience. And I would actually love to get some thoughts of the audience from this one. So.
I don't need the mic. So New Hampshire's pretty secular, yet we have some liberal churches where people would at least claim to be very progressive in their views. Yet when I look at the country, I see faith as a real wedge when it comes to peace and race and some of those issues. I'm not sure how to offer that as a question, it's more of a comment.
Well, I think the way to ask that as a question is, and the movie kind of portrays this, and I think Baldwin actually said, he quoted Malcolm about Sunday at noon being the most segregated hour of the week. So the question is, I think, how do we reconcile our Christian faith and the teachings of Jesus with the fact that it is the most segregated hour?
Or any faith.
Or any faith. Pam?
You got all kind of hands out there.
Got a hand.